are the people who are the trusted messengers around the country. And we believe that we need to empower these individuals to continue to work in communities to make sure people know that these vaccines are safe, that they can save lives. And so these are grassroots voices across the country. They are not members of the government. They are not federal government employees. They are volunteers. They are clergy. They are trusted voices in communities who are playing this role in door knocking. And this is one of the tactics that we've used over the last couple of months, but we've seen, so it's not the only factor, but I would say that we've seen in some states, Alabama, the adult vaccination rate increased by 3.9%. 149,000 additional adults got their first dose in June. In Florida, the adult vaccination rate increased by 4.4%. In Georgia, the adult vaccination rate increased by 3.5%. So in our view, this is a way to engage and empower local activists, trusted members of the community.
Is it working, and who are these volunteers reaching other than, say, shut-ins? Because people don't even have to get off their couches to see who's at their door these days.
Well, that's fair, depending on the technology in your house, I guess, I suppose. But I think what's important for people to know, and I appreciate you asking the question, is that the federal government does not have a database of who's been vaccinated. That is not our role. We don't maintain a database along those lines, and we have no plans to. We do know where there are rates of vaccination across the country, and we know, as I just listed in some of the data, that there are tactics that are powerful and impactful. And so I will say the thing that is a bit frustrating to us is that when people are critical of these tactics, it's really a disservice to the country and to the doctors, faith leaders, community leaders, and others who are working to get people vaccinated. This is about saving lives and ending this pandemic. Go ahead.
Was that me?
Oh, go ahead, Yamiche. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, and then I'll go to you right in front of her. Go ahead, Yamiche.
So my two questions. The first is, you've said over and over again that the United States believes elections should happen in Haiti this year.
Yeah.
People in Haiti are so scared they can't leave their homes, they can't go to the grocery store. How does the United States think elections can happen when people are too afraid to even go to their front doors?
Well, Yamiche, first, we understand and see the trauma that obviously the horrific killing of just 30. I understand that. I didn't say anything otherwise, but I'm saying what's happened over the last 36 hours. We, again, stand ready to provide support, provide assistance in any way that is formally requested by the government there. We're looking forward to hearing from them on what they would request and how we can help them through this period of time. And we called for an election this year, or we're continuing to call for one, because we feel that supporting democratic institutions, the democratic process, is something that would be in the interest of the people of Haiti. That's why we're advocating for it. We stand by to provide assistance, to provide help in any way possible, as we long have even before yesterday.
Haiti, including human rights activists, clergy members on the ground, they've been saying over and over again for months now that elections aren't possible. I've talked to people specifically who say that they're disappointed in the president's stance on Haiti, that they see him as continuing failed policies that go back to his predecessor, former President Trump. What's the president's response to Haitians who say they are disappointed in him and they don't think that he's really listening to their cries, which are saying that elections cannot happen?
I would say that the message to the people of Haiti is we stand with you. We want to provide assistance, whether that is assistance requested by the government or assistance that is needed for the people of the country to prosper in the future. And that is the president's view. Go ahead. And we're going to have to keep going. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, right now on Haiti, right now, I know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll come back to you. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah, right now there are two politicians who are claiming in Haiti the role of Prime Minister, Claude Joseph and Ariel Henry. How does the U.S. think that this impasse should be resolved, and are you worried that it could lead to further instability?
Well, first, we continue to support Haiti's democratic institutions, and we have been in touch with the acting prime minister, and we echo his call for calm. But I would again reiterate, that's one of the reasons we have called for elections this year, and we believe that they should proceed. Of course, we are worried about and closely monitoring the security situation, the stability in Haiti, and understand that even before yesterday, but certainly as a result of yesterday, that is even more of a concern for the people who are living in the country.
But right now, you are not backing any one of the two.
We are calling, we support the institutions, and we are continuing to call for elections this year. Go ahead, Monica.
Jen, on voting rights, the president indicated he may tour the nation and talk about that, give a major speech on the topic. That hasn't happened yet. Should we expect it still to take place, or what can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, I would say first that the president felt it was important to meet directly with civil rights leaders and talk to them about how we can work together to continue to push for federal legislation, continue to use every lever in the federal government to make voting more accessible across the country. But certainly he conveyed he wants to speak to the country about voting rights and how he's going to address it moving forward. I don't have any scheduling updates for you today, but he certainly plans to continues to plan to do that, I should say.
Still the plan. Okay.
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. There are hurt feelings among government officials in Taipei after the White House COVID team posted and then deleted a tweet that had an image of Taiwan's flag along those of other nations getting vaccine doses from the United States. Was this tweet a mistake in the first place? And if not, then why was the tweet deleted?
So this was an honest mistake that was made by the team handling graphics and social media and should not in any way be viewed as a shift in official U.S. policy. When we recognized the mistake, we removed the tweet. So we did exactly as you said. We remain committed to our One China policy based on the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, and the 6 assurances. Go ahead. In the middle. Go ahead, Eugene. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Jen. It seems pretty clear.
And you just got engaged, I think. Random aside, but congratulations. Yes. We're just a lot of news you can use in here.
It seems pretty clear that on voting rights, a legislative fix isn't going to happen, right? Like, Republicans have made it clear they're probably not going to get on board. You're not going to get 10 votes. And the president has talked about being open to filibuster reform if it's used kind of too much. And I guess advocates keep asking us to ask you guys, what does that look like? Is there a time period? Because they feel like they're running out of time, but they're not seeing a lot of urgency on the president's part.
Well, I would say the president is meeting with civil rights leaders today because he feels there is urgency on determining how we can most effectively work together to move voting rights forward, access to voting rights, I guess I should say, forward. And he's an optimist by nature, otherwise he wouldn't be president of the United States. So he continues to believe that there should be a pathway forward for federal legislation. He did say, as you just quoted, he has made comments in that regard, and certainly obstruction and the fact that there is an unwillingness to move forward in making voting more accessible to people across the country is something that he's mindful of, and he believes and has said, and we have said before, could change the conversation in the Senate. We'll see what happens, but he will continue to press for federal legislation moving forward. Oh yeah, go ahead.
I've talked to Reverend Sharpton quite a bit, and one thing that he is really interested in seeing and hearing from the president is a carve-out for voting rights and police reform for the filibusters. That's something that the White House is going to be pushing for. Is the president calling Joe Manchin and other holdouts on filibuster reform?
The president's position hasn't changed. We certainly understand the position of Reverend Sharpton and others, and the president, though, shares their desire, commitment, interest in moving forward on voting rights legislation and moving forward on initiatives across the country that can help make voting more accessible to people across the country. I'm sure they will have a robust discussion today. Go ahead.
I have a question about the executive order
Sure.
on non-compete mandates.
Yep.
Businesses use those mandates because it helps protect their investment in employees. It also helps protect their intellectual property. So will there be any kind of carve-out or anything in this executive order to protect businesses? And what is the White House messages to businesses that are concerned about this executive order?
Well, I'm happy to follow up with our team and see if there's anything specifically to your very good question. I will say that the overarching objective with the executive order is to make sure the president is encouraging competition in industries around the country. It doesn't sound right to most people that there are 3 shipping companies that are dominating the market and upping and increasing costs for suppliers, small businesses, people across the country. That doesn't sound right or fair because it isn't. So that's what the president is trying to address. In terms of the specific carve-out you're asking about, I'm happy to ask our team if there's anything more. Go ahead.
Just on voting rights, Vice President Harris, as we speak, is announcing a $25 million expansion of the DNC's I Will Vote initiative. This is just one of the examples that that Democratic committees are launching in terms of voter protection. Can you speak about the White House's collaboration with these committees on the strategy?
Well, again, I referred specifically to the DNC because it's most appropriate for them. I know the vice president's making this speech, but to outline the specific details, given they're the political arm here, so they can get into all the specific details. But it's just an example of how every lever of the Democratic Party and the federal government is working and looking for ways that we can make voting more accessible around the country. But they'd be the most appropriate entity to outline details.
Specifically involved? Were they aware of this strategy? I mean, what was the collaboration between
Yes,
the two?
we're aware of it, but again, they're the political arm, so they're the most appropriate body to outline details. Go ahead.
Hi, Jen. Thanks. I wanted to ask you about the global tax negotiations. I know that Secretary Yellen's supposed to be in Italy tomorrow about it. Can the White House credibly guarantee to its counterparties in that agreement that you can get something through the Senate and the U.S. will actually be able to enact the legislation that the deal requires?
Well, that's something we've proposed, and we're going to continue to press on. And this agreement wouldn't be the case, wouldn't be happening without the leadership of the United States, of Secretary Yellen, and others in the government. So certainly it is very much our desire, our interest, and our commitment to deliver on that promise. I think you're going to have to gather in a moment here. Go ahead, one more. Okay.
You may have seen yesterday the former president filed a class action lawsuit against 3 social media companies, and one of the targets as part of that lawsuit is Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. He would like to see that particular aspect of the law ruled unconstitutional. In January of last year, Joe Biden, when he was running for president, spoke to the New York Times, and he said Section 230 should be revoked immediately. Does he stand by the comments that he made to the New York Times last year?
I have not spoken with him about Section 230. I remember those comments, and I remember the New York Times article. I'm happy to venture to do exactly that. I will say that as it relates to these lawsuits, it's certainly a decision for the platforms to make. I think it's safe to say that the president spends a lot less time obsessing over social media than the former president. With that, thank you, everyone. Happy birthday, Steve.
The East Room for the open press.
I don't think we can do that, but we tried to expand as much as we could.
Thank you.